Hello, my galactic soul family. Welcome back. And if you're new to my channel, hello. My name is Gabbie, aka Witchy Vibes 11, which means healing vibes, in case you didn't know. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to take a moment to say welcome to my channel. You were obviously guided here for some reason. It wasn't coincidence. You didn't just fall upon my this channel or this video. So you were guided here. Maybe it was unconsciously. Maybe we have a soul contract with each other. Maybe it is that I'm here to share my codes with you, to trigger you, to give you a puzzle piece to help you on your path. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So if you're new to your journey and you're new to this channel and this information, most definitely just, go down below, say hello, introduce yourself, and post something to talk about. And I know there's somebody that's on this channel right here that can answer your question. There's a lot of psychics, mediums, healers, Reiki masters, stuff like that are a part of this soul family. So if you are here, welcome. We're here to do this soul journey together. It's been a long time since I've done a visual. I've been doing a lot of audios. Mostly it's just being lazy to put makeup on and show my face and all that stuff. Okay. So let's talk about shadow work. Shadow work. A lot of us in the spiritual community have listened, or we've even read about the great teacher, Carl Jung. Actually, he's not really a teacher. He is a psychologist, but he's also a teacher. We tend to regurgitate what we hear, right? And we tend to regurgitate what people like Dolores Cannon, Carl Jung, Bob Proctor, people like that, we tend to regurgitate what we are taught, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way or negative way. It's actually a good thing, that's how you spread knowledge, but it's how you regurgitate the information, right? So it's how you spread the knowledge. People see the world through different lenses. We don't all see and hear the same. We hear and see what we want to see and hear. So hearing and seeing what I am regurgitating might, click your switch on, or might make sense because my codes, my tone of my voice, my visuals, my frequency, my vibration coming together with the words might bring some sort of awareness to you that you didn't understand before or have before. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. Like in my head, I have I totally understand what I want to say, but I don't really know how to say it the way it's like words can't explain what I want to say. It's just like, it's a vibration, I guess. I guess if you know, if you understand, you understand. And, if you understand, give me a thumbs up. So yeah, we tend to regurgitate what we hear in the spiritual community by, like the Dalai Lama and people that have been on their journey and they're very wise beyond their years, old souls. So I never really knew who Carl Jung was, or, what he really even did. I just heard his name a lot getting thrown around in, the spiritual community when I, first came online and becoming consciously aware of my awakening. I always heard like little quotes and be like, these really awesome quotes by Carl Jung. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool quote, but who is this Carl Jung guy? Like, why do people talk about him so much? Like, who is he? So I would always stop what I was listening to, or if I was reading something, or if I saw it somewhere or somebody said something, I would stop and Google real quick just to be like, okay, what is this? Who is this? What's this guy all about? before I get into this video, because I didn't know, and if you're new to my channel and this is your first time here, and even if you're not new to my channel and you've never heard of him, which would kind of shock me because I hear his name so much that, I mean, like, Carl Jung is like spiritual 101. It's like what you hear at the very beginning of your awakening, of your path, of your journey. So if you're here to learn about shadow work, and you're new to all of this, I wanted to explain to you who Carl Jung was before talking about his work. Because like I said, you'll hear his name being thrown around a lot in the spiritual community. He was a brilliant soul. And I like, she's biting my arm while I'm talking to you guys, so I had to pick her up. This is the new addition to our family. This is Delilah. Hi, say hi, Delilah. Hi, Delilah. I'm a cat person, but this little girl right here stole my heart. This is my daughter's dog. This is my Rose's dog, Delilah. And Minerva is such a stinker. She's so mean to her. Minerva's over there looking at me. She's like staring at me. She's giving me the stank face. Like you smell like dog. Like, you ever watch Twilight? And the vampires can't stand the werewolves because they smell like dog. And when Belle goes around the wolf, and the vampires are like, oh, you smell like dog. I feel like that's what the cat does when I touch the dog. The cat doesn't even want me to touch her. She's like, ugh, you smell like dog. And she doesn't even really stink. She's just a puppy. So before I talk about what shadow work is, you should know that shadow work is a term that was created by Carl Jung. He was a psychiatrist. He was also a psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, and he founded analytical psychology. If you're new to my channel, you're gonna see a lot of that. Like, my tongue doesn't work. I stutter even when I'm not doing videos. I feel, in my opinion, that he merged science and spirituality together in his line of work to have a better understanding as to what was going on with his patients, because his patients would come in with all of these, like, so people would send crazy, quote unquote, crazy people to, like, psychiatrists, especially back in the 1800s, especially women, for the dumbest shit. They would send women away, right? So Carl Jung didn't, like, abuse people. To my knowledge, I don't think he abused people. He tried to understand them, and he felt that they were lacking something spiritually in their lives, and he tried to understand them with psychology and with spirituality, trying to understand where there was an imbalance in this person's life, because we're here, we're souls here. I don't know why my voice is like, we're like these souls that are here having this human experience. So we are these two aspects, right? We are energy in this mass, in this physical, material, body. So I feel that Carl Jung understood that. So he tried to figure out, where the imbalance was in this person's life to help heal them from whatever trauma was making them, out of alignment between their physical and spiritual self, to be able to live a fulfilling life here on Gaia. Carl Jung noticed that a lot of people back in his days were afflicted by a lot of things like inadequacies and stuff like that, hopelessness. They were just really, like, out of whack, and they came off as crazy when really it was just they were acting out their traumas. So Carl Jung examined this issue with his patients, and he came to the conclusion that the feelings that his patients were feeling were caused by what he called a spiritual problem. Like I just mentioned, we're spiritual science. He was trying to find balance within his patients. So I would recommend that you do some, research about him if you want to know more about him, because this was just a quick, like, introduction of who Carl Jung was and who I'm talking about when I mentioned his name and I mentioned shadow work. So shadow work is recognizing and understanding the dark side of our personality. It's also a good way to recognize what our insecurities are. Now, shadow work was coined or created by Carl Jung, to my knowledge. It was created by this gentleman named Carl Jung. And doing shadow work is a great way to live a life in balance, in alignment, a fulfilling life, a life of understanding of who you are and, what makes you happy and what makes you unhappy. And having this understanding will help you to recognize when something makes you unhappy, and you'll be able to, resolve and process it. Whatever it is that's making you unhappy, you'll be able to process it in a healthy way, because we don't process in a healthy way. A lot of us don't process in a healthy way. I did a few mental health videos, prior to this video, and I actually did 2 of them. They're titled, "What Story Are You Telling Yourself?" And it's what story are you telling yourself? What are you manifesting? That was one video. And "You Choose Your Family and the Dysfunction." So if you want to know, wait, I think the second title was wrong. "You Choose Your Family and the Dysfunction to Grow Spiritually." I think that's the correct title. So if you're interested in any of those 2 videos, after you watch this one, go ahead and check those out. If I have time, I'll do that thing where you put it like up above and you can click it, or maybe I'll put the links down below in the description area to make it easier for you. So I refer, in those 2 videos, I refer to inner work a lot. I say shadow work a couple times. I mentioned demons a few times. And spiritual work. It's all the same thing. It's all shadow work. Okay. And that's why I'm making this video today, because I mentioned a lot of shadow work in those videos. And if there was anybody new that was watching those videos, they may not really know what shadow work is all about. So that's why I'm creating this video. It'll help you with your awakening process and becoming aware of, themselves and, well, yourselves. If you're new, it'll help you. This video will help you become aware of yourself and your power, to heal from trauma, any kind of trauma. I mean, like any kind of trauma. A lot of the trauma starts from your childhood. It starts with you. It starts with what you fear. Fear is a lower vibration that causes you to judge yourself and other people. It's low self-esteem. It's insecurity. It's hate. It's anxiety. It's pain. It's panic. It's illness. It's depression, unforgiveness. Did I say insecurities? Just in case I didn't. Insecurities. I feel like I said that already. Unforgiveness. It's unconscious awareness and absence of self. This is shadow work. That's, if you're expressing any of that, it's because you need to work on your demons, your inner self. You need to work on your spiritual aspect of yourself. You are out of alignment. You are out of balance. You need shadow work. The shadow work represents any traits in our in our personality that we don't like. So when we don't like something, what do? We repress it. Is it repress? We hide it. I don't know. I just feel like my brain just went like is it suppress, repress, hide, whatever. You know what I mean, right? We hide it. When we don't like something, we don't talk about it. We forget about it. We hide it. We repress them in our unconscious mind. At least that's what we think we're doing. We think we're hiding it. We're putting it away, out of sight, out of mind. You think that it's out of mind. Yeah. We think that we know ourselves, right? We think that we know all about all of this. Well, think again. We also like to think that we have, that we're kind people, that we have high morals. We're good people with good values and, and integrity. However, that may be the case, But what if I told you that there are parts of your personality that you despise so much that you hide them, you put them away? This is your shadow self. The shadow represents any traits in our personality that we don't like. What do we do to stuff that we don't like? We throw it away, we get rid of it, we hide it, or we run away. We repress. When we repress, we hide it away into like when people talk about Pandora's box, I imagine Pandora's box is this box where we put everything that we hide away. We shove it in Pandora's box, and then we put it to the back of our mind, and we never think of it again. Or at least we think we don't ever think of it again. So we hide it in this Pandora's box. I believe that's what Pandora's box is. It's where all our fucking shadows are. It's where we put everything that we don't like. We put it in that box, and we just out of mind, out of sight. It doesn't exist. It's not that it doesn't exist. You think that it's out of mind, it's in your unconscious mind, and you think that your unconscious mind is not aware. You have another thing coming. Out of sight, out of mind, unconscious mind. It exists, you guys. It exists. Because these things that you repressed, because they are repressed, we can't acknowledge these thoughts or feelings. We don't think that they exist, but they do. Side note, real quick, I want to say this before I finish and go on with my video. When we repress anything, our emotions, our thoughts, what we want to say, how we feel, and we ignore these thoughts and these feelings, they will manifest. They will manifest in another way, often as an illness. Before they become an illness, it becomes a dis-ease in your life, a disease, which is a dis-ease, a discomfort in your life, which in fact will create an illness within your body somewhere if you continue to ignore it. Okay? But I'll save that, topic for another video. So shadow work is the process of acknowledging and accepting the hidden parts of your personality. It takes honesty, courage, the ability to surrender and be true to yourself, to be vulnerable. It's hard to be vulnerable. It is. What I'm talking about right now sounds so easy, but I challenge you. I challenge you to be vulnerable. I guarantee you're going to be like, damn, that's harder than I thought. Okay? So, like I said, it takes honesty. It takes being true to yourself, being vulnerable, and not worry what other people think about you. You have to stop worrying what other people are going to think about you or say about you. You got to just stop that. Stop it. You're here to have an individual experience. You're not here to please other people. So being vulnerable and being true to yourself is all a part of the process of shadow work. And it's not going to work unless you are true to yourself, honest with yourself, vulnerable, open, accepting. Okay? It's challenging. And when you start shadow work at first, it's scary and it can feel really, really awful. Because who wants to admit everything that sucks about themselves? Most of us go to, great lengths to protect our self-image from anything that is ugly, unflattering, not the norm, the society normal, which is unfamiliar. And we don't like to step out of unfamiliar territory. And it's so easy to observe other people's shadows, other people's flaws, before acknowledging our own shadows, our own flaws. The shadow is the dark side. It's your demons. It's the dark side of our personality. You ever see like the angel and the demon? That's us, you guys. That's us. You know, light, dark, good, bad, positive, negative. Okay? Light, darkness. Higher self, lower ego self, lower self. The shadow is the dark side of our personality because it consists mainly of primitive, negative human emotions and impulses like rage, envy, selfishness, greed, lust, desire, power. In order to live a balanced life, a dis-ease-free life, we have to acknowledge the shadow. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. I've been working on my shadows with my demons, on my shadow side, my inner self, for many, 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 many years, since I've become aware of them. I mean, I'm talking since I was in my 20s. You just have these different levels because of awareness. When you're not aware of something, you can't have the knowledge of a wise, somebody that has the wisdom of a wise old soul like that. You have to go through the levels. So, in your 20s, that's young to be aware. And my awareness was like, it wasn't that, I didn't have a huge spectrum, of awareness. I was just aware. It was like at the beginning of awareness. Like I just was like, I went from like this to being like, oh, I'm aware. Different levels, you guys. And every time you reach the end of a level, you enter like a new chapter, a new energetic level, and you play around in a little bit until you have that awareness to wake you up, to expand more awareness, to rise you up to another level. Awareness. So I'm still working on my shadows. I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect. I'll die imperfect. I'm here to have experiences, but I'm becoming aware of these experiences that I'm having so that I can learn to have them with more unconditional love. So I can co-create unconditional love, the vibration of love. I'm still not perfect. My ego, on the other hand, would like to disagree at times, but I'm working on that. I'm working on it. So the personal shadow is the disowned self. It's the part of you that you disowned, that you don't want nothing to do with. When you don't like it, you told it to go away. It represents the parts of us we no longer claim to be our own, including inherited personal qualities. These unexamined or disowned parts of our personality don't go anywhere. You can tell them to go away, but they don't really go anywhere. Although we deny them and our attempt to cast them away or to cast them out, we don't get rid of them. As much as you think that you got rid of it, you don't. You don't get rid of it. We repress them. They are still a part of, our unconsciousness. Think of the unconscious as everything we are not conscious of, focused on, that I'm conscious right now that I am making this video. However, my dog thinks that I'm not consciously aware that she's running around my house picking up things that she shouldn't be touching. And just because I'm not saying anything to her, she thinks she's getting away with it. That makes sense. Like my unconscious is aware of everything that's going on. It's just not reacting yet. But there is a part of me that it is coming up and wants like me to acknowledge the dog. So it's like I could feel myself wanting to speed up recording this video so I can get the dog and take her out of here so she doesn't destroy my room. Was that a good example? I feel like it was. We can't eliminate the shadow, all right? It stays with us. It stays with us all the time. It's with us all the time. It's, you know, it's the yin to your yang. It's the peanut butter to your jelly. You can't get rid of it. No? So if you try and you keep suppressing it, trouble will find you. It will find you somehow. It's going to come. Anything that's in the darkness will find its way to the light. No one wants to admit that, nobody wants to admit to having, bad habits or bad traits, right? It's a lot easier to concentrate on the good things about ourselves, like our strengths, than it is to concentrate on what we fail at, what our weaknesses are. Some people feel ashamed to admit that they have, that they have failed in many things or that they have weaknesses, right? We do things that we wouldn't voluntarily do and then later regret it if we could catch it. We later regret it. We say things we wouldn't say or we shouldn't say without even knowing that we shouldn't have said it, unless you're becoming aware. Like unless you've expanded your awareness, you would catch it. But for the sake of this video, we're talking about learning how to do shadow work. So you may say things that you shouldn't say and then regret it later. For, a lot of times our fate, when we don't say something that we shouldn't have said, or we don't do something that we shouldn't have done, sometimes our facial expressions do things that they shouldn't do. Our facial expressions, our face reacts and expresses emotion that we're not consciously aware of. So I'm aware of all the other things. I'm aware of not saying things that I shouldn't say, do things I shouldn't do. My face, on the other hand, says everything. I don't have to say nothing. I'm like, so when I'm around people that I like, oh God, I don't like really want to associate with because I'm not comfortable or whatever the situation may be, I have to really like focus on my face. And then I feel really like, ugh, because I'm like focusing so much on how is my face looking right now. So I've learned to just walk away when I don't like something because I feel like people can read me like a book because, like I said, my face will say it all. Here, she's back. She's back. So I'm back and I'm destroying Mimi's womb and I'm taking everything and I'm dragging it around the womb and I'm chewing on it and I know I'm not supposed to do it. Okay, go away. Go play. Remaining unconscious of your shadows, is going to hurt you in the end. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your friends, your relationships. It's going to hurt your relationship with your spouse or your loved one. It's going to hurt your relationship between you and your family, you and your best friend, you and your coworkers. And it will definitely impact your personal, not your personal, your professional life too. And your leadership abilities. So who wants to own up to feeling like, not being happy, when one of your friends does something successful? Who wants to own up to like being jealous of your friend because they got the booking for the gig that you wanted? Or maybe you feel jealous because your best friend is dating somebody that you really wanted to date, but that guy chose her over you. Or maybe you're jealous because of your friends or your families or whoever's success. maybe you feel like you should be successful, not them, and you feel like they don't deserve that success because you've worked harder and you've wanted it longer. Or maybe you show jealous or envy over an engagement, or having negative thoughts about another person or even yourself. You put yourself down a lot. Or maybe you have this selfish behavior that, acts out every once in a while. But why would you talk about that? Why would you admit to that? You wouldn't. Most likely you wouldn't. Okay. Or you wouldn't be here learning about shadow work. But this isn't about, like, oh, you're so bad, and you, that's bad, bad, bad. That's envy, jealousy, that's selfishness, that's bad, negative, low vibrational behavior. I'm not here to point fingers, right? I'm not here to blame because I'm not perfect. It's about understanding. It's about awareness. It's about processing, learning, and moving on to becoming a better person, a better human being more balanced, aligned mentally, spiritually. What's the point of focusing on all your good qualities if you're not going to accept your bad ones? Because you're not perfect. How do we learn if we don't address our flaws? So what happens to all the parts of ourselves we hide or we ignore? Whatever qualities that we deny in ourselves, we'll see them in other people. And when we do that, we project. When we deny these qualities in ourselves and we refuse to see these these low vibrational qualities in ourselves, we project that out to other people. Anything that we bury within us, we project out. So for example, maybe you went to the grocery store and the checkout lady or the checkout guy, he was really rude and impatient with you. And you got really irritated because the checkout person was really impatient and rude with you. I bet you're actually a very impatient and rude individual yourself, but you haven't acknowledged your own rudeness or impatience. It doesn't mean that the person that's being rude to you or impatient with you, it doesn't justify their behavior, okay? However, if that rudeness and impatience wasn't in your shadow, if it wasn't one of your demons, that person's impatience and rudeness wouldn't be bothering you so much. But if you had awareness of what projection is and why people do it, you'd have a better understanding that maybe, just maybe, he was really hungry. He didn't eat breakfast this morning. He's covering somebody else's shift that didn't show up. So he's really impatient because he's just really fucking hungry and he just wants to go eat his lunch because he only has 30 minutes. And he's being rude because maybe there's something that you're doing that is making you put everything on the belt for him to swipe. You're doing it really slow. Like you're putting all the frozen stuff together and you're farting through your cart and you're like, okay, this is frozen. I want all the frozen. I want all the breads and all the soft stuff. And he's like, just damn it, just put it all in the fucking carts so I can scan it and just get the hell out of here. I mean, that's just like that's just another way of you looking at it, of having an understanding. So maybe if you had an awareness, you could understand that maybe, I was like just making that up. I don't even know if this guy had lunch or breakfast or whatever. Maybe. It was a maybe. There was something going on in that person's life to make him like that. But if you had awareness, you would know that and you accept it and it wouldn't bother you. But because you have not done your inner work, the behavior he was showing you is some of the behavior within yourself that is unresolved. This process doesn't happen consciously. We aren't aware of our projections. Our egos use projections. They use this as a mechanism to defend itself, to defend how it's, how it perceives itself. Our false identities of being good keeps us from connecting to our shadow. These psychological projections distort reality, creating this boundary, this thick boundary between how we view ourselves and how we behave. I mean, who enjoys owning up to their flaws and their weaknesses, their selfishness, their hatefulness, their insecurities? Focusing on our strengths is more fulfilling, enjoyable, life-affirming than it is to focus on our flaws. It just got really dark outside. Like, I don't know if you can see like the change in the video. It's just like, I think it's going to rain. It's going to storm because it looks dark. It's windy. I love a good storm. It's kind of fitting. I'm talking about like shadow work, demons, inner work, and it's like the weather. Dark. So exploring your shadow can be fulfilling. It could be life-changing. I know it sounds like kind of corny, right? It's life-changing if I just accept my shadows. But it really is. Your life will change if you can acknowledge your demons. It's really important to take some time to prepare yourself to work, to take time to work on your inner self, to do some shadow work, to shadow box, to recognize your shadow self, your demons. It will reveal parts of your personality that might not be fully ready to, you might not be fully ready to acknowledge these parts that you've hidden away. But it's good that you start to acknowledge them. So when you do start to work on yourself, you need to be mentally and spiritually prepared to be able to accept what is going to be revealed in your life. Remind yourself that no one is expected to be perfect because nobody is perfect. You've chosen to confront your shadow self and do the work to better understand yourself. You're not doing this for anybody else. You're doing this for yourself. Be compassionate about yourself. Be kind to yourself. Accept that you are human. You're here having an experience. You're only human. We are all vulnerable beings. We're prone to influences beyond our control. Be gentle and kind with yourself on your journey. You're going to make mistakes. No matter how big or small they are, you're going to make mistakes. It can be anything from being a nasty person, saying mean things, having an affair, stealing, just being selfish, being an asshole, being service to self all the time, greedy, stingy, negative, cocky, egotistical. It could be anything. But you're not perfect. You're here to have an experience. Those experiences are going to make you a better person once you become aware of what you're doing. Now, for shadow work to succeed and to work, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. There is no hiding or making excuses. You have to confront your worst fears about your own personality and your character. Shadow work is going to help you understand why you're even acting out the way you're acting out. It could be past life trauma. It could be trauma from your childhood. It could be trauma from a relationship. It could be trauma from how your teacher treated you in school. It could be anything. It could be anything. So before I end this video, I wanted to quickly give you I wanted to talk about 5 ways that I could help you to start shadow work, to start working on your inner self. Tip number 1, pay attention to reoccurring themes that are happening in your life. Write them down. What makes you react emotionally, particularly emotionally? If you react physically, then that's a problem. That's a bigger problem. And you really need shadow work. So pay attention to recurring themes that's happening in your life and write it down. What are your emotional triggers? Try to ask yourself this. What are my emotional triggers? Write it down. You can ask yourself, what are the recurring themes in my life? What seems to really tick me off? Do you have a tendency to get into arguments over the same thing all the time? If you do, write it down. What pushes your buttons? What ticks you off? What irritates you? Write down everything that irritates you about other people. And writing this down and reading it will help you come to an understanding of yourself. As you integrate your shadow and come to terms with your darker self or your darker half, you'll see yourself more clearly. You'll become more grounded, more whole as a human, more aligned, more of an aligned, balanced human being. When you can accept your darker side or your darker parts, your shadow, your demons, if you can accept your demons, it's easier to accept the shadow in other people. As a result, other people's behaviors won't trigger you so much. It won't tick you off so easily because you'll have an easier time understanding and communicating with other people because you'll have that understanding. You may notice an improvement in your relationship with your husband, your wife, your lover, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your teacher, your boss, your friends, once you start to work on your demons. Number 2, pay attention to emotional reactions. Pay attention to the, specific ways you react to people and situations. See if there's a recurrent theme or pattern. Once you've identified a pattern, you can then address it because you'll understand it. Clearer perception in seeing others and yourself as you are. You'll have a clearer lens, to see the world through because your awareness will be expanded. Your lens will be more broad. You'll be able to see more. You'll be able to understand more. Now, as you integrate your shadow, you're approaching your authentic self, which gives you a more realistic assessment of who you are. You won't perceive yourself as being too big, inflated, big head, or too little, deflated, small mind, in the box. When you're self-aware, you can assess your environment. You'll be able to understand it more accurately. You'll see others and evaluate situations with more clarity, more compassion, and more understanding. Number 3, identify patterns. As you begin to identify the patterns in your life, all right, you'll be able to analyze and understand these patterns that you're analyzing, right? And you'll be able to not be so judgmental, so hot-headed, so quick to blow up into this, have this raging bad behavior, yelling at people because they're too slow or too rude, or, you won't judge them and call them stupid and dumb for doing certain things. You won't be that person driving your car and honking your horn because the person in front of you is driving too slow. Maybe you'll have an understanding that the person in front of you is a senior or a first-time driver or nervous of tractor-trailer trucks. Your awareness will be expanded enough to be able to look around and be like, oh, okay, maybe this person's afraid of driving on the highway. And when you drive up to the person as you're passing them, you might glance over and look at them and be like, oh, it's a senior citizen. Maybe they're having a hard time seeing. Or seeing that it's a young person and be like, oh, maybe this is their first time out on the road. Maybe I shouldn't beep at them because you make them more nervous, and maybe they'll crash because you're being an asshole. Once you understand these patterns and you analyze them and you have this understanding, the dog is snoring. You can discard, those patterns within your life, because it's like you will have acknowledged it and healed from it so that it'll allow you to move on from it. You're now processing these thoughts and feelings. You're becoming a better human. You're becoming more aware. Remember, in the past, you found these thoughts so unacceptable that you buried them. You wanted nothing to do with them. It's only once you've identified the specific patterns in your shadow that you can you can begin to work out how to deal with them. You can't work out how to deal with anything that you're not aware of. Number 4, I talk about this all the time. For those of you that follow me all the time, for those of you that watch like all my other videos, you guys know that I'm always talking about journaling. Journal, journal, journal. It's important. Keep a journal. Or you can keep a personal journal for just, what goes on in your life. Then you can keep a shadow work journal and a dream journal. But I am not that organized, so I don't do that. Most of the stuff that I share with you guys is shit from my journal. Stuff that I write down, think about, put it in my journal. But if you're an organized person, you can have a personal journal, a shadow work journal, and a dream journal. Anyways, just keep a damn journal. If you're not into writing, you can keep an audio journal. But journaling is key, you guys. It really is. I have journals from back like years ago. Like when I tell you I have books, like just books. I have books. And sometimes I go back and I read my old stuff and I'm like, oh, that would be awesome to talk about. I've healed from this. Let's talk about it. Keep a journal. You'll be surprised what you read in 5 years from now, 5 years later. How you'll be like, wow, I've come so far in my life. You got to put the work in though. When you keep a journal, it helps to keep some sort of record of what you're doing with yourself while you're doing shadow work, while you're working on yourself, inner self, while you are on this spiritual journey. Journaling is not just so that you can keep a record of yourself to see how far you've come. Journaling is good to get whatever is in your head out of your head and onto paper. It's like decluttering your mind. It's like feng shui for your freaking mind. You don't have to worry about any kind of structure, to your thoughts. Just spill it out on paper. Just write. Just write whatever you're thinking, how you're feeling. Don't worry on grammar, penmanship, any of that. Doesn't matter if it makes sense. Just let it out. And if you're anal and you worry about all that other stuff like grammar and shit, you can go back to it later and you can always rewrite it to make it make sense or whatever. You put it together in a better way. The important thing is to get, what's in your head out of your head and onto paper, to get it recorded while you were thinking about it at that time. Number 5, this is the last one. This one's important too. I've done this before. I've actually done this a lot. Write a letter to yourself. Another one of the shadow work exercises that a lot of people are advised to do that is helpful is to write a letter to yourself, which expresses sorrow or regret, because of your, what you're thinking or what you're feeling. You can say in the letter how you are attempting to heal or to clear yourself by doing this shadow work. You can give yourself permission to be forgiving in the letter, or unforgiving if that's what you need to do to make yourself heal. Remind yourself that you are not the only one with a shadow self. You're not the only one that has demons that needs to do inner work. You're not the only imperfect human being on the planet. In the process of doing shadow work, you may reveal some repressed thoughts and feelings that you had no idea were even there. That might even help you have an understanding about yourself. But maybe some of you out there in YouTube land may be asking right now, like, what's the point of all this? Like, honestly, if it's hidden, right? If everything that I don't like is hidden, everything that I did that I don't like is hidden, what's the big deal? Nobody knows. They're never going to find out. It's not doing any damage. I don't feel anything from my shadow self, so why do I need to work on my shadow self? They're in our unconscious mind, right? It's just lying dormant, right? So why wake the demon? I'm going to tell you right now, they're not really dormant, okay? I'm consciously aware that I'm doing this video, but there's shit that I'm unconsciously aware of that is affecting me consciously. Everything unconscious will become conscious. It will find a way. It leaks itself out in behavior. It leaks itself out in rage, jealousy, judgment, insecurities, envy, hate, fear. Then it starts to mess with you physically by giving you anxiety, turning into a dis-ease that turns into an illness. And I'm talking illnesses could range from anything from a back pain to an autoimmune disease to even cancer. Everything that you feel in your body has a spiritual reason as to why it's there. Trust me, I know I'm trying to work through a lot of the shit that I'm working through with my own body. So that's why I'm doing this video, to help you heal, to give you a puzzle piece, an understanding, to be a catalyst in your life, hopefully. I can't make you change or make you do this shadow work. You have to want it for yourself. I'm just here sharing, what I've learned, what I went through. Another thing that you can do to help you with working with your inner self, to work on your shadow self, is practicing gratitude. Practicing gratitude is huge. It's helpful when you are working with your shadow or doing inner work. Try to take a few moments to be grateful for the things that you already have in your life. We take for granted a lot of the stuff that we have. We want more. I'm guilty of that. I want more, more, more. I have a house, but I want more than my house. Now I want an RV. I want to travel. I want another house. Like more, more, more. Like I can't just be satisfied that I have a freaking house, right? There's people in this world that don't even have food. They don't have legs. They don't have sight. They can't even see. They can't see something beautiful. Some people can't even hear. That means they'll never be able to hear a beautiful song or a beautiful voice. They'll never be able to hear a bird sing. They'll never be able to hear a thunderstorm. Some people don't even have a roof over their heads. Some people don't even have their health right now, and they're laying in a bed somewhere, looking out of their window, wishing that they could be well enough just to pay the bills. Wishing they were well enough to socialize, to go to the grocery store, to go on a hike. We need to stop constantly measuring our achievements against the things other people have, or it will trigger a response that is a low vibrational, and it will come off as an attack or as hate. My daughter's coming in to pick up her dog. Finally, now that I'm at the end of my video, right? My unconscious mind summoned her after the dog falls asleep. It's hard to be grateful in a society that is all about titles, power, status, money, image. That's why it's good to learn how to be grateful, to have gratitude. Our creativity is stripped away from us at childhood. This is my opinion. It's stripped away from us at childhood because we're indoctrinated at childhood to obey and work. We are trained at a young age to be programmable. I want to share with you a story that I recently read, and it's actually beautiful, and it will give you some perspective, okay? So there's a man. This man is in an expensive sports car, and next to him is a second man in an ordinary car. The second man looks at the first man and wishes that he could have that expensive sports car. But next to him is a third man on a motorcycle who wishes he could have the ordinary car. And next to him is a man on a scooter who wishes he could have the motorcycle. And then there's a fifth man walking past who wishes he could have the bicycle. And finally, there's a disabled man watching from a window in a house wishing that he could walk. Does that make your mind go? I don't know. It made mine maybe me saying it the way I said it wasn't so like, when I read it, it was more like it hit me in the heart. So we know that jealousy is not a good quality. It's not a good characteristic, and that it can be destructive. But that's another reason why shadow work is so important. It's to teach us to be grateful for the life we have. Now, in my next video, we're going to talk about engaging with your shadow. I was going to do it in this video, but I know this video is well over an hour. I'm trying to shorten my videos. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But whatever. I do know that I want to keep this under an hour, or at least under an hour and 20 minutes. I don't even know where I'm at right now. I can't find it doesn't tell me. I'm pretty sure it's about an hour. So, yeah. I noticed that YouTube bumps me from the algorithm when I post videos that are really, really long. And then when I do video like the shorts, because there's this thing on YouTube that allows you to do shorts, and my short clip vids get like 600, 900 views. My witchy vlogs get like 100 views within like an hour that I post it. But anytime that I post a long video, it's like days before it gets like 100 views. It's like, damn, it's a lot of work to do these videos. And you're like, got me out here in YouTube la la land, like pending a view. It would really help if you guys were to, like the videos, even share the videos. Share the video with anybody that you feel could benefit from anything that I'm saying. You can even use my video in your videos to, whatever. If the information you feel is good and you want to reference something that I said and you want to show a clip or something in your video, I give you permission. So I love you guys. This is the end of what shadow work is. And in my next video, we're going to talk about engaging with your shadow. I love you guys. Be kind to yourself. Always be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And I challenge you to be more aware of how you are speaking, what you're saying, what you're doing, what your facial reactions are. I'm here for you. I love you. And I'm grateful for you for watching my video. Mwah.